Welcome back to the Deep Dives. You guys know we love to tackle your requests, and today we're diving into something a lot of you have been asking about, manifesting parenthood.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
Now, I know manifesting can sound kind of out
The
there,
little woo-woo for some people.
but this deep dive into the Manifesting Parenthood podcast episode is really fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
So we're going to break down how aligning your thoughts and energy can actually maybe shape your experience as a parent.
It's really taking that whole like attracts like idea and applying it to family life,
I like that.
If you're stressed all the time, that can't be contributing to a peaceful home.
Right.
And, if you're approaching parenting from a place of joy, well, does that have a ripple effect on your kids? This episode is all about that.
Okay, so it's not just like wishing for perfect kids,
No,
but looking at how our own internal state might impact the whole family dynamic.
the whole vibe.
And it claims there are techniques to actually put this into practice.
There are, yeah.
3 to be exact.
3, exactly, right. And what's interesting is how simple they are.
Okay.
Like, we're not talking about complicated rituals. It's things like morning affirmations, and the podcast suggests making it a family practice.
Oh, interesting.
You affirming the positive qualities you want to embody as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And even your child affirming things like, I am kind, I am loved.
Instead of, I will not throw my breakfast at the wall today.
Exactly.
Okay, so I can see the appeal of starting the day with that kind of intention, but is that enough to actually shift things?
Well, it's one piece. They also talk about visualization, like not just picturing a spotless house and perfectly behaved kid,
Right.
but really like truly envisioning your ideal parenting moments.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a smooth morning routine or really connecting with your kid over a game.
Yeah.
The idea is that by holding that positive image, you're kind of aligning your energy with it,
Okay.
making it more likely to happen.
I mean, I visualize winning the lottery all the time,
Right.
and that hasn't manifested yet.
Well,
But I get the principle. So positive affirmations, visualizing good stuff. What's the third technique?
gratitude practice, but specifically focused on your parenting journey.
Okay.
The suggestion is to write down 3 things you're grateful for each night,
Every night,
every night. And it's not about ignoring the tough stuff,
of course.
but intentionally seeking out the good, even on challenging days.
Right.
Maybe you're grateful for your child's laughter, or even just like 5 minutes of peace while they napped.
I can get behind that one.
It's about rewiring your brain to focus on the positive.
I have to admit, when I hear about aligning energy and gratitude, changing your reality, a part of me is like, come on, is this really going to make a difference?
Sure.
But then I think about the research on mindset and how our thoughts actually do influence our actions and experiences.
Absolutely. That's real.
Yeah.
And this isn't just about mystical forces. Even if you approach it from a purely psychological standpoint, these techniques offer practical ways to manage stress and cultivate a more positive outlook. And that can absolutely impact your parenting.
For sure, for sure.
But the podcast takes it a step further
Yeah.
and addresses those moments when things inevitably go off the rails.
Right, because let's be real, no amount of manifesting is going to stop a toddler from having a meltdown in the middle of the grocery store.
Exactly.
So how does this approach handle those moments?
It's not about pretending those challenges don't exist. It's about using those same principles, affirmations, visualization, to navigate the tough times.
So instead of yelling back, "You are embarrassing me," you take a moment to center yourself and respond from a place of calmness.
Right, exactly. And they give this example of a parent taking those deep breaths, to regain composure during a kid's tantrum.
Okay.
It's about consciously choosing a more peaceful response instead of getting swept up in the chaos.
That makes sense, but how exactly does that tie into manifestation?
That's where the idea of shifting your focus comes in,
Okay.
Instead of dwelling on the problem, the tantrum, the screaming, you shift your attention to the solution you want to create.
Right.
So instead of, my kid is driving me crazy, you might affirm, I'm handling this with patience and love.
So it's not about wishing the tantrum away,
Nope.
but about shifting your own internal state so you can respond differently.
It's about aligning your energy with the outcome you desire, even if you can't see it yet.
I'm starting to see how this fits together, but does it actually work?
Right.
I mean, I get that our thoughts influence our actions, but can we really manifest specific outcomes just by thinking about them?
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical, to be honest.
And that's totally valid. I think it's important to approach these ideas with a critical mind.
Yeah.
But even if we set aside the more woo-woo aspects, there's still a lot of value in these techniques.
Yeah. Even if it's not about magically controlling our kids' behavior, just having those tools to manage our own stress and reactions as parents.
Exactly.
That seems pretty helpful.
Absolutely. And it's not just about calming down in the moment.
Right.
The podcast argues that by consciously shifting your internal state, you're actually impacting the overall energy of your family dynamic.
So it's less about my kid will magically become an angel and more about by being calmer and more present, I'm creating an environment where everyone can thrive.
Exactly. And that brings us to the bigger question. If you could manifest one thing for your family today, what would it be? What kind of energy do you want to cultivate, and what steps can you take to make that a reality?
That's a great question to ponder. And before we get too deep into that, I think it's worth unpacking some of these concepts a bit further. What do we really mean by aligning energy? And how does this universal conspiracy thing actually work? That's where it gets really interesting.
It's easy to get caught up in those practical steps, like, okay, I'm going to do my affirmations, I'm going to do my gratitude list.
Right, just checking off the boxes.
But this underlying idea of aligning energy, like, what does that even mean? It's worth exploring. It's a bit esoteric, sure, but think of it this way. Our thoughts and emotions, they aren't just internal. They create a sort of vibration and energy that we project outwards.
Okay, so not just like thinking positive thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
but those thoughts actually impacting the space around us. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's a concept found in various spiritual tradition, that whole like attracts like idea.
Okay?
Positive energy attracting positive experiences and vice versa. So if you're constantly radiating stress and frustration, it makes sense that your family dynamic might reflect that.
So by consciously cultivating a more positive internal state,
Yeah.
you're shifting the energy of your whole family system. I guess that's where those techniques like the affirmations and gratitude come in.
Totally. They're tools to help us actually do that shifting.
Okay?
And it's not about like thinking happy thoughts all the time. Life throws curveballs.
Sure.
But it's about building that internal resilience so you can weather those storms without getting totally swept away.
And that's where that whole the universe is conspiring thing comes in, right?
Right.
That if you put out positive energy, your universe will support you in achieving your goals.
Yeah.
To be honest, that part always feels a little too magical thinking for me.
I get that. It can sound a bit far-fetched, but even if you don't take it literally, I think there's a psychological truth to it. When you believe things will work out,
Uh-huh.
you're more likely to notice and seize opportunities that support that belief.
So it's not that the universe is out there like making things happen,
Yeah.
but more that your own perspective is shaping your reality.
Exactly. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe in your ability to create a positive family life, you're more likely to take the steps to make that happen.
It makes you wonder, though, like, what about those people who are doing all the right things, the affirmations, the visualizations, the gratitude, but are still facing really difficult challenges? Does that mean they're doing it wrong?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and it's where this whole manifesting conversation can get kind of tricky.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that this isn't about controlling outcomes.
Right, you can't just manifest your child into behaving perfectly.
Exactly. You can't prevent every bad thing from happening.
Right, life is messy.
Kids are going to push boundaries. There will be tantrums, disagreements, all those joys of parenthood.
Exactly.
And sometimes, despite our best efforts, things just don't go our ways.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean these principles are useless. It's more about shifting your perspective on those challenges.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as failures, view them as opportunities for growth.
So instead of, why is my kid doing this to me? It's more like, what can I learn from this situation?
Right. And maybe the lesson is about patience or letting go of control or simply learning to ride the waves of life without getting totally knocked down.
I like that. But I do wonder, is there a risk of like getting too focused on controlling outcomes, especially with kids who have their own minds and wills?
Totally. That's a valid concern. It's a delicate balance. You want to be intentional about creating a positive family environment,
Right.
but you also have to respect your child's individuality.
You can't force them to be happy or successful,
Right.
but you can provide the support and guidance they need to find their own path.
Precisely. And I think that's where the real magic of this whole manifesting parenthood thing lies.
Okay.
It's not about controlling your kids. It's about empowering them, creating a space where they feel loved, supported, free to be themselves.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to put it. So it's not just about what we manifest for our families, but what we help our children to manifest for themselves.
Yes, and that brings us back to this idea of modeling. We've talked about how our internal state can impact our kids, but our actions speak even louder. If we want our children to be confident, resilient, kind, we have to embody those qualities ourselves.
Our kids are watching how we handle stress, how we treat others, how we navigate challenges. They're learning about the world through our example.
Exactly, and that's why this whole concept of manifesting parenthood is so fascinating to me. It's not just about wishful thinking, it's about taking responsibility for the energy we bring to our families and the legacy we're creating for our children.
It's a reminder that parenting is more than just providing food and shelter. It's about shaping lives, influencing hearts, leaving a positive mark on the world. It's pretty amazing to think about.
It is.
But before we get too sentimental, let's bring it back down to earth. All this talk about energy and manifesting is great, but how does it actually play out in everyday life? What are some concrete examples of how these principles can be applied? Okay, so let's get practical here. If someone's listening and wants to try this manifesting parenthood thing, what does that look like in real life? It can't be all like meditation cushions and gratitude journals.
No, no, not at all.
Right.
It's about like weaving these principles into your everyday life. Like think about those morning affirmations instead of just rushing through them mindlessly. What if you turned it into a playful ritual as a family?
Oh, I like that.
Maybe write affirmations on sticky notes and put them on the bathroom mirror, or each family member shares one thing they're grateful for while you're eating breakfast.
So it's not just about the words, but creating that positive and intentional start to the day.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And it's the same with visualization. It doesn't have to be this big formal meditation practice. Maybe while you're driving your kids to school, you take a minute to visualize everyone having a smooth and happy day.
Yeah,
Or before a family gathering, you picture everyone getting along and having fun.
just holding that positive image in your mind
Yeah.
and letting it guide your actions.
Exactly. And then when it comes to those inevitable challenges, think about how you can apply these principles in those heated moments.
Yeah, when you're about to lose it.
Instead of getting swept up in your child's tantrum, take that deep breath and remind yourself of the kind of parent you want to be.
Choosing a response that aligns with your values,
Right.
even when it's hard.
Even when it's so hard.
Yeah.
Maybe you step away from the situation for a minute to collect yourself, or use a calming phrase that you've affirmed beforehand.
That's a good idea.
It's about having those tools ready to go so you can navigate those tough times with more grace.
I imagine gratitude plays a role in those moments too. It's hard to feel grateful when your kid is screaming at the top of their lungs,
Right.
but maybe it's about finding those tiny little bits of appreciation in the chaos.
Yes, exactly. Maybe you're grateful that your child is healthy and strong enough to express their emotions so forcefully.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just grateful that you have earplugs.
I've been there.
The point is to shift your focus from the negative to the positive, even in small ways.
So training your brain to see the good, and hopefully that has a ripple effect in your whole family dynamic.
Absolutely. And one thing that really stuck out to me in the Manifesting Parenthood podcast was their emphasis on self-care.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily think of self-care as a manifesting technique.
Right. But their argument is that when you take care of your own needs, you're better equipped to show up as the best version of yourself for your family. It's like filling your own cup so you have something to give.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. So whether it's taking a few minutes for yourself each day, getting enough sleep, connecting with friends,
Yeah,
those acts of self-care are actually contributing to a more positive family environment.
they are all connected.
And that's what I love about this whole concept of manifesting parenthood. It's holistic. It's not just about controlling our kids' behavior. It's about creating a healthy and fulfilling ecosystem for the entire family.
So it's not a magic wand, but it's a set of principles and practices
Yeah.
that can help us approach parenting with more intention, positivity, and resilience. And, hey, maybe a little bit of magic does happen along the way.
Maybe it does, but even if it doesn't, I think the journey itself is worthwhile.
I agree.
Because when we're striving to be the best versions of ourselves as parents, we're creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond our own families.
We're contributing to a more conscious, compassionate, and connected world. And that's something worth manifesting, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
So to our listener who requested this deep dive, we hope you found it insightful and maybe even inspiring.
Yeah,
Remember, you have more power than you realize to shape your family's reality.
you do.
Choose your thoughts wisely, take action with intention, and trust in the unfolding of your own unique parenting journey.
It's a journey.
And if you could manifest one thing for your family today, what would it be? Hold that vision in your heart and let it guide your steps. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.